Greetings and blessings from Germany, from Anenja Vihara. This is Ayya Phalanyani, seemingly fading in and out the picture. I need to be in the office, so I am using a background picture, and I hope it will be kind of stable. Before I speak much more, I would like to just close our eyes and so that for some time we just do some meditation, some breathing in and out. So sit comfortably, but with your eyes closed, with your back straight, wherever you sit, on a chair, on the floor, in the office, somewhere where you are in bed, maybe when if you should be sick, wherever you are. Just have your eyes closed, sit upright, and breathe. Setting the alarm on 15 minutes, and this is the time we take to get to where we are. As always, when we do some meditation, first thing is to breathe in and breathe out deep. And with that, to release all tension that you might have in your body. Make sure your upper body is upright, but relaxed, so that all your organs are free and not blocked or crunched or squeezed. So that the air can flow softly. In and out. Your entire upper body is relaxed. That would lead you to your lungs, massaging and moving all the other organs. Know the breath. Know how it is going into your body. Now it's flowing out of your body. Focus on the middle of your chest. And feel the air going in and out of your body softly and smoothly. And focusing at a point within your chest. You can experience how the air is pumping up your lungs and how the lungs expand Now it falls back. And every breath you take in will open your chest a little bit more. When you remember some Buddha images or statues, the Buddha is always depicted with the chest wide open, not shoulders tensed and pulled up, nor drooping down, nor falling to the front or the chest falling inwards. No. Like a Buddha, or presumably one of the Arahants, we'd like to open our chests. And with that, our hearts and every breath that we take does not only open our heart, in addition, it opens our mind also. Makes us ready in heart and mind to hear the Dhamma, to listen to the Dhamma, and to accept the Dhamma. to accept things as they are. Now you can keep breathing and just listen to the Dhamma. Or you can open your eyes and be there and watch. Greetings to those who came a little bit late. This is Ayya Phalanyani from Germany, Alenja Vihara. I'm saying that because there's so much confusion about where I am, and that somebody wanted to visit me in America at Empty Cloud. That's not possible because, well, I'm in fact in Germany. So, today's topic is the Dhammas as your teacher, as our teacher. I should have written. I took this topic because I just had a talk about this very same topic the other day, and I thought it is interesting that really there are reasons why the Dhamma and the discipline is our teacher, and why we should not take anybody else as our teacher. So the question for that other talk was why the Buddha's successors Dhamma and discipline and not one of his disciples. And I would just I would just read out first a sutta where it is beyond any doubt, stated that there is no successor for the Buddha. So listen carefully, Samyutta Nikaya 47.9. Depending on what translation you get, it is translated into English ill or sick. I have a mixed translation, so the translation that I'm giving you, you won't find in internet, but you do find this sutta in the internet if you want to look for it. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Vesali in the village Beluva. There, the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Come, bhikkhus, enter upon the rains retreat wherever you have friends, relatives, and devotees in the vicinity of Vesali. I will enter upon the rains retreat right here in Beluva." "Yes, venerable sir," those bhikkhus replied, and they entered upon the rains retreat wherever they had friends, relatives, and devotees in the vicinity of Vesali, while the Blessed One entered upon the rains right there in Beluva. Then, when the Blessed One had entered upon the rains retreat, he became severely ill, with terrible pains, close to death. But the Blessed One endured them, mindful and clearly comprehending, without becoming distressed. Then the thought occurred to the Blessed One: "It is not proper for me to attain final Nibbana without having addressed my attendants and taken leave of the Bhikkhu Sangha. By means of energy, I will suppress this illness and live on, controlling the life force." Then the Blessed One suppressed that illness by means of energy and lived on, controlling the life force. The Blessed One then recovered from that illness. Soon after he had recovered, he came out from his dwelling and sat down in the seat that had been prepared in the shade behind the dwelling. The Venerable Ananda then approached the Blessed One and paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said to him: "It is splendid, Venerable Sir, that the Blessed One is bearing up. Splendid that he has recovered. But, Venerable Sir, when the Blessed One was ill, my body seemed as if it were drugged. I had become disoriented. The teachings were not clear to me. Nevertheless, I had this much consolation, that the Blessed One would not attain final Nibbana without having made some pronouncement concerning the Bhikkhu Sangha." What does the Bhikkhu Sangha now expect from me, Ananda? I have taught the Dhamma without making a distinction between secret and public teachings. The Tathagata has no closed fist of a teacher in regards to the teachings. If anyone thinks I will take charge of the Bhikkhu Sangha, or the Bhikkhu Sangha is under my direction, it is he who should make some pronouncement concerning the Bhikkhu Sangha. But, Ananda, it does not occur to the Tathagata that I will take charge of the Bhikkhu Sangha, or that the Bhikkhu Sangha is under my direction. So, why should the Tathagata make some pronouncement concerning the Bhikkhu Sangha? Now, I am old, Ananda, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, come to the last stage. My age is now turning 80. Just as an old cart keeps going by being held together with straps, so it seems the body of the Tathagata keeps going, being held together by straps. Whenever Ananda, by not attending to any signs and by the cessation of certain feelings, the Tathagata enters and dwells in the signless concentration of mind. On that occasion, the body of the Tathagata is more comfortable. Therefore, Ananda, dwell with yourselves as an island, with yourselves as your own refuge, with no other refuge. Dwell with the Dhamma as an island, with the Dhamma as your refuge, with no other refuge. And how, Ananda, does a bhikkhu dwell with himself as an island, with himself as his own refuge, with no other refuge? With the Dhamma as an island, with the Dhamma as a refuge, with no other refuge? Here, a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body as body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed liking and disliking in regards to the world. He dwells contemplating feelings as feelings, mind as mind, phenomena as phenomena, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed liking and disliking in regard to the world. Those bhikkhus who dwell with themselves as an island, either now or after I have gone, after I'm gone, with themselves as their refuge, with no other refuge, with the Dhamma as an island, with the Dhamma as a refuge, with no other refuge. It is these bhikkhus, Ananda, who will be for me topmost of those keen on the training. So here we have the first very, very certain statement made by the Buddha himself, that neither the Bhikkhu Sangha, and with that the Bhikkhuni Sangha, nor anybody else who calls himself a Buddhist should have any other refuge as the Dhamma and the Vinaya. And Vinaya can mean, for bhikkhus, 227 rules that they are keeping. For us bhikkhunis, 311. But for you who are not ordained, living at home, you might have 8, or most probably 5. So 8 only sometimes. And this is then your discipline. This is your Vinaya. These are your rules that you aim to keep. So the Vinaya for you lay people, for you not ordained people, are the 5 precepts. And there is so much already done. This is so very strengthening your practice when you keep the sila, when you are in the position that you can actually keep the sila easily. That is a wonderful opportunity for you to grow in the Dhamma. So with that, you already agree to the Dhamma and the Vinaya be your teacher by keeping the sila. That is the very first step that you can take. And as you may know or not know, giving the 5 precepts or the 8 precepts, or here in the monastery also the 10 precepts to the seminaries, or recite hours 311, is so beautiful and so enriching, because it is really reminding us of what is the base of our practice. This is where we stand on. This is our fundament, and this is straight given from the Buddha. You know, that is not something that later people have thought, oh, what can we do to make other people's life more complicated, and how can we rule and regulate them? No, these rules and regulations were made by the Buddha because difficulties in the Sangha occurred, and it seemed wise to implement a rule so that nobody else would fall into the same trap and thereby fall off the Dhamma. So this is great to have this base on which we might stand. And the Buddha, if you remember what I have just read, said very, very clearly that he does not think of himself he was the leader of a bhikkhu sangha. He didn't think that he would be in charge of the bhikkhu sangha. He was not controlling, he was not leading it. He was an example. He lived by example. The others followed him. But he didn't control or lead them. He just showed them the direction, and he gave out the Dhamma by which they could find themselves the way, by which they themselves, they become an island for themselves. And this is all of us, you know. This is not only the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. And this is the reason why we take refuge to the triple gem, to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. The Buddha has never ever said this and that monk, this and that person shall be my successor. I want to have this and that person as my successor. So I think this is very important to understand, that we are in fact really, although we have a lead, we have teachers and we can follow them. If I have questions, I'm directing myself either to the suttas or to my teachers, of course. And my students are coming to me for guidance. That is not a question. That is possible. Of course, you can lead and teach a group of people who are willing to follow you as a part of the Sangha. But as soon as it becomes that I am the leader and I am a very important person and I am in charge of the Sangha, that is not the way. This is not what the Buddha thought he wanted for his Sangha. You know, there was one monk who tried, and that was the Buddha's cousin Devadatta. When Devadatta was, I think, a monk for some time already, and the Buddha was getting old, Devadatta split the Sangha, which is a serious, so to say, crime that one can commit, splitting the Sangha. So Devadatta said to the Buddha, well, you retire now, I'm taking over. I will be the new leader of your Sangha. And that was not the way. There were some bhikkhus who followed Devadatta to live with him and to create a new kind of split group. But later, other monks of the Buddha could win them back for their Sangha. They could make them see that this is not the Dhamma. This is not the Dhamma by the Buddha. And that the Buddha, in fact, does not want to have a successor, because he wants us to be independent beings with our own refuge. For our own good. And unfortunately, also for our own bad, if we are not taking good care of the responsibility that is given to us by the Buddha. You know, he is, in that sense, he was like a parent who had the utmost of trust. Okay, then yes, the trust was big and huge, but some were maybe not ready for so much trust and needed to have some more regulations. So we had the Vinaya. 5 for you, as I said, 8 or 10, 227 or 311. And that is what we shall rely on. That is our base. Then comes, of course, some practice. And I wanted to read out not the entire sutta, but a part of another sutta, which really is a statement coming from another side, confirming what the Buddha said in this sutta. Also, we find the same statement in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. But here, what I want to read out for you in parts is Majjhima Nikaya number 108 with Gopaka Moggallana. So there it is. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Venerable Ananda was living at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary, not long after the Blessed One had attained final Nibbana. Then somebody comes and asks Ananda questions. So I skip a little bit of the sutta and come to the first question. Master Ananda, is there any single bhikkhu who possesses in each and every way all those qualities that were possessed by Master Gautama, accomplished and fully enlightened? There is no single bhikkhu Brahmin who possesses in each and every way all those qualities that were possessed by the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. For the Blessed One was the arouser of the unarisen path, the producer of the unproduced path, the declarer of the undeclared path. He was the knower of the path, the finder of the path, the one skilled in the path. But his disciples now abide following that path and become possessed of it afterwards. Then I skip a little bit of the sutta and go to the next question. Is there, Master Ananda, any single bhikkhu who was appointed by Master Gautama thus? Here he will be your refuge when I'm gone, and whom you now have recourse to. There is no single bhikkhu Brahmin who was appointed by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened thus. He will be your refuge when I'm gone, and whom we now have recourse to. But is there, Master Ananda, any single bhikkhu who has been chosen by the Sangha and appointed by a number of elders bhikkhus thus? He will be our refuge after the Blessed One has gone, and whom you now have recourse to. There is no single bhikkhu Brahmin who has been chosen by the Sangha and appointed by a number of elder bhikkhus thus. He will be our refuge after the Blessed One has gone, and whom we now have recourse to. But if you have no refuge, Master Ananda, what is the cause for your concord? We are not without refuge, Brahmin. We have a refuge. We have the Dhamma as our refuge. So, very, very clearly, very simple and easy. It is really by the Buddha himself. Somebody's calling me all the time. Unfortunately, I didn't turn on the telephone, so excuse me. So, very, 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 very clearly stated. As Melissa, I just see it now. What Melissa writes, moment, I will show that to everyone. If the systems, faith, path followed these teachings, we could be rid of war. Yes, I think so. A lot of quarreling, a lot of debating, a lot of knowing better and starting fighting for views would be just gone, out of interest, if we followed that we have ourselves as an island. We talked about this being yourself an island. We had an entire Dhamma talk on that. So I'm not going into this direction more now. There, somebody should says, "Dear Ayya, it is wonderful how Buddha clearly established that the goal is personal development and not establish an organized religion for power or some other reason. That is indeed wonderful." Yes, I mean, the Buddha knew people. He knew them well. And we could know ourselves. We could understand that when we are uh, in a power position, that is just so very, very easy that we then start to abuse that power position and think we are better, we know better, and we are in charge and we need to control everything. There are, of course, people more prone to thinking like that, but every individual, every person can fall into this trap. And I'm an abbess. I'm a leader of a monastery myself, and I'm teaching, and I have people following me, and I'm in charge of some people. But now I have some students living here with me, and I can give up things I'm in charge of. So I'm no longer working in the office and answering email. So I'm basically only there for teachings. And since I'm still quite numb in my head from the Lyme disease and COVID, I'm not in charge, so to say, at all. So just need to kind of get along with the Dhamma talks. And but it is really possible that when that starts, when the people kind of revere you and bow down to you and bring you things and offer you things. This is very much so in Asia. And this can ruin your character if you are not strong in your sila. Then you start to think, well, of course I'm better. I must be better because they treat me like that. And then you are sliding off the Dhamma. You might be an elder, and I'm now an elderly bhikkhuni, and yeah, it is part of being bhikkhunis and having students that your students do some services for you. But if one of my students that has ordained with me becomes sick, I have the same duties, or have to find somebody, if I cannot do it, to have it done. So it's a mutual thing, and there is no way for me to be some, or to claim I would be some superior person. The Buddha clearly said no superiority. There is no one superior, no one inferior, not even equal. We're just all individuals on our own path, and we're our own islands. We have talked about what that means, and it's the way of practice that we do, that we are our own refuges. So Buddha Ruchi said something. Yes, Buddha is the supreme teacher, and each of us is the center of our own practice. The Buddha talks directly to each of us. So, as we walk through life, what would the Buddha do or say is central? In your humble opinion, yes, Buddha Ruchi, that is very, very much so. We can ask that to ourselves. What would the Buddha do? And this is the Great Four Standards can give us an answer. So the Great Four Standards is basically, if it's either allowed by me or not mentioned by me, so something that we never discussed, but it is leading to peace, to enlightenment, then yes, can be done. And even if it's allowed by me, or if it's not further mentioned by me, but it is leading you astray away from enlightenment, away from seclusion, then it is not to be done. So there we have always this questioning of ourselves. What would the Buddha do? Or what did the Buddha say about this? So, yes, of course, we can take the Buddha as our refuge. And he is one of the, not the things, how you say, he's something, one of the objects that we can contemplate on. And this is very important, the contemplation on the Buddha, on the greatness of the Buddha and all of his virtues or on his characteristics can actually lead to enlightenment. So this is wonderful to do. But still, we need to do it individually. I myself, as a teacher, in the same way as the Buddha, as our teacher, and as any other teacher, we can only point into the direction of the Dhamma. And each individual has to go your own way. Of course, ask the elders who have been there before, who have done that and really done that and really been there, not only by talking about it, but that will help. But those people would most probably not claim that I am the one who is now in charge of everything, and I am the big important teacher. So of course, when everybody is their own refuge, and there are so many people who do not have the Dhamma yet, who do not know entirely the Dhamma, then there's of course a lot of struggling. And searching. And many of those claim, I was like that. I have to say, I have to admit, before I ordained, I had practiced a long time already. And I went to Thailand and wanted to just practice a little bit, do another retreat, and then come back to Spain, where I lived at that time, to become a very important meditation teacher. That was the idea then. Fortunately, I really am so grateful. Fortunately, it came to my mind, it occurred to me. That is the most stupid thing that I could ever do. And then stayed not only a few months, but after a year decided I need to dive deeper into it, and started to prepare to get into the brown robes, and knowing I wouldn't want anything else than being ordained. But we have ideas and they change. And that is part of the process. And that is also important, that we don't attach to that one view that we once had, or to the one understanding that we once had, but adjust our understanding. And in the sutta that I have read, the first one, the Buddha said something very similar that we know from the Satipatthana Sutta, namely, being an island for yourself is the practice that we do. So not any one point, but the development over the years. It is not only one thing that we once know and understand, and then that's it, unless that should be final nibbana. But if that isn't, if that's just an aha, a little insight, and not the insight that brings us to arahantship, then we have to develop slowly, maybe, but steadily, and grow and grow. And the mind, the body as a body, knowing the body as a body, knowing the feelings as feelings, knowing the mind or the heart as the mind or the heart, and the phenomena as phenomena, is a way of practice that we can practice really everywhere and any time. Of course, also in formal sitting and walking meditation, but we can practice this always. And when you are with a breath, breathing in and out, and sit there on the cushion or walk there and know the feet touching the ground, and you're really with it, then you have the Dhamma with you. That is practicing the Dhamma where you go. And knowing this can be really giving you that understanding of being your own refuge, having only the Dhamma as your refuge. And that I'm coming again with my example. So when you practice and somebody yells at you, when you stand on the ground and you feel your feet and you name it, standing, standing, or you observe your breath and you name the rising, falling, or you hear sounds and you are with the hearing, 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 hearing. Then you are with the Dhamma. And you are your own refuge, because you do not take anger as your refuge and act on it. You don't act out. You stick with what is the Dhamma. And that is the last thing for today I say. I wish you a very, very good day and see you next week. Bye-bye.